and 26-year-old mother passed away when I was 18. She was a single mom, and my only other family was my Aunt Marissa. Marissa refused to take me in or help me because she said, "You're grown, you can stand on your own 2 feet." Marissa's boyfriend was nice and would help, but Marissa eventually banned him from even giving me dinner or leftovers because I needed to grow up instead of expecting handouts. Luckily, my employer at the time helped me to get some affordable housing. I struggled for a long time, but I luckily don't have to live paycheck to paycheck anymore. Marissa's family is currently struggling, and she reached out to me through a mutual acquaintance. Marissa's boyfriend recently lost his job for a reason I'm not entirely sure about. Marissa stayed home and only did occasional work like baking for friends' parties, so they're seriously struggling now. Marissa asked for just a bit of money or some unused food for my pantry to help keep them afloat. I called Marissa back and told her, "Hey, why are you asking for handouts? You're grown. You can stand on your own 2 feet." Marissa was angry, but I was just as angry back because she's the one who left me to fend for myself when I was a vulnerable 18-year-old who was barely out of high school and had just lost my mom, and now she wants help. I texted some information for a local food bank and other resources to Marissa's boyfriend, just for him and my cousins, but I didn't even respond to Marissa after the first phone call. Most people agreed with how I reacted to Marissa, but multiple people are telling me I was wrong and punishing the wrong people, because I know from experience that getting access to these resources can be a lot harder and take a long time, and Marissa's boyfriend and my cousin may need help immediately. People told me that by being the bigger person and helping Marissa in her time of need, I could show Marissa how wrong she was and what a huge mistake she had made. I don't see it that way at all. Well, I feel bad for Marissa's boyfriend and my cousins, but if I helped them, it would reward Marissa for refusing to help me during my own hard times. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Sometimes it's better to take the high road and be a better person. This is not one of those times. You gave your aunt the advice she gave you when you were a struggling 18-year-old. How could she do that to you and sleep at night is beyond me. But you at least gave her the names and contact info for organizations that can help her. That's more than she did for you. You owe this person nothing. Karma bites back. Agreed. And can get a job and stand on her own 2 feet. And while she looks, she can think about what she did. Besides that, Up is 26 and hasn't had an easy start in life. She's not likely to have that much in the way of additional resources and would be far better off saving anything extra for her own safety if she needs it in the future, as the aunt wouldn't help out. To be entirely fair, it feels like the people telling her to take the moral high ground could also chip in. Keep yelled to these people to pony up the assistance to Marissa. Also, has the aunt ever apologized? If not, invite her boyfriend and your cousins to eat at your house on a regular basis. Marissa can find her own food. It would certainly be generous of you to help Marissa out if you could afford to, especially if she has kids who are blameless and suffering for their parents' choices, but you're absolutely not morally obligated to do so. Marissa bans her boyfriend from even giving you dinner leftovers because you needed to grow up instead of expecting handouts. But the actual heck, even if you decide to take the moral high ground and help for her kids' sake, you need to remind Marissa of her past actions. Don't let her forget. Seriously, you reap what you sow. We have been together for 12 years and married for 9. We have 2 kids under 3, and it's exhausting. I'm primarily a stay-at-home mom with some side gigs. He works in recruiting for a big organization. We are a 32-year-old female and a 34-year-old male. We share household chores, but I primarily do the laundry. So on to the problem. The majority of my husband's clothing doesn't go in the dryer, but he has some that do. This has been a sticking point for us for years. I have ADHD and poor working memory, so it's like a horrible game show where someone tells you to sort out objects without any pattern or reasoning other than this shirt is older, these jeans are newer, etc. It's confusing, and I've tried to figure out which is which, but inevitably mistakes happen and things end up in the dryer. When they do, he gets upset and is sad because the clothing shrinks and doesn't fit properly. For further context, my husband has a hard time finding clothing that fits him. He's tall and fit but has a small waist, so if it fits in the arms and length, it's usually too wide. If it fits in the waist, it's too tight in the arms. He also hates shopping for clothes, so when he buys clothing, he keeps it for a long time. About a year ago, I accidentally put one of my husband's favorite sweatshirts in the dryer on high heat, and it shrunk. He was so sad, so I apologized, and I came up with the solution of using mesh washing bags for his clothing that didn't go in the dryer and went out and bought it for him. I told him to put anything he didn't want to be dried into the bags, and he told me that he would do it. Fast forward a couple of months, and he hadn't bothered to do it, and another shirt got put in the dryer. I reminded him of the bags again. He said he'd do it, and he didn't again. This went on for months with many different excuses. About 2 months ago, when we were all sick, I was doing laundry. I was trying to sort the clothes out, and my youngest threw up on me. So I shoved everything that was still clean into the dryer. I put the heat on low, then folded everything like normal, and he never said anything. Ever said anything felt tight or like it had shrunk. I felt like I had gotten away with murder, and I assumed I could just keep doing it. We fast forward to today, and he decided to fold the laundry. He noticed his nice merino wool base layer in the dryer and said, "You put my merino base layer in the dryer?" And I said, "I put everything in the dryer on low now." And he was immediately upset and said it was ruined. Upon permission, I said, "I've been putting everything in the dryer for a couple of months. I gave you the mesh bags a year ago, and you never used them." Then I said, if he wants his laundry done a certain way, then he needs to sort it before it goes into the wash or do it himself. He only a sarcastic response for me, and he made it clear that he thought I was the idiot. So am I the idiot for putting my husband's clothes in the dryer? Not the idiot. If he doesn't like the way you do laundry, he can do his own. You came up with a straightforward solution of him separating out what can't be dried, and he refused to use it. Honestly, you should just stop doing his laundry if he acts like an ungrateful child. Yeah, why can't your husband do his own laundry, ignoring the part that you offered him another solution that he doesn't want to accept? You need to tell him, dear husband, I've decided I no longer can do your laundry. It's the stress of accidentally shrinking your shirts adds to my already huge mental load. You provided a perfect solution and reminded him of that, and he couldn't be bothered. He didn't even notice until months later that stuff was going through the dryer. He's a grown man who can do his laundry if he doesn't like the housekeeping service. Geez. When I was newly married, my husband didn't like that I rolled socks and didn't fold them. I also didn't hang his shirts in the same direction by color. My husband has been doing his own laundry for 35 plus years, and I suggest you have your husband do his own laundry too. I'm 36 female, I'm engaged to a wonderful man. Mike 41. We both have children from previous relationships. I have a young teen daughter, and he is a kindergarten-aged son. Lib. Luke's mom is Mike's ex-wife. Ashley. Mike has had some issues with never telling Ashley no about taking Luke on nights we aren't supposed to have him. He's canceled dates with me and family trips, etc. But Ashley asked him to take Luke with some frequency. He used to be much worse about it, but he's gotten better and has only been asked as a last resort. Well, this past Friday, Ashley called us asking us to babysit because she had concert tickets for Saturday night. Mike had to work, so he couldn't, and then it turned to me. I had already planned to have a mom-daughter date with my daughter that evening, so I reserved a mani pedis at a nice dinner. These mom-daughter dates are important to my daughter and me since she's going through the mess that is puberty. I told Ashley I had other plans. I figured she has enough family, friends, and money. She alone makes the same amount Mike and I make, not counting the child support he pays, to figure out something on her own. I was wrong. Saturday night, and she was in a tizzy, blowing up Mike and my phone, begging us to take Luke that night. I stood firm and told her no, and that my time with my daughter was more important to me than her going to some concert. I silenced my phone and took my daughter on our date. We had a wonderful time and a fantastic dinner. We came home to find Mike royally angry with me. Ashley, her friends, and her family had spent all evening killing him, yelling at him, telling him how unreasonable and how much of a witch I was for not watching Luke, and that I was going to be a bad stepmom since I didn't care to watch him. Then the custody threat started, how they'll take away Mike's weekends with Luke, etc., and he couldn't reach me since I had silenced my phone. It's calmed down a little since then, but now Ashley is demanding I refund her the $300 she spent on her tickets, and she couldn't go since I refused to watch Luke that night. So Mike and I have been saving money to take my daughter and Luke on a trip next year. Mike is just telling me to give her the money from that to avoid the fight, but I don't want to. If we give in to these demands, she'll continue these behaviors and use us. Am I the idiot for not watching Luke on Saturday? And would I be the idiot if I didn't give her the money she lost? Why are you marrying him if this is how he treats you? Not the idiot for not watching Luke, and especially for not paying the $300. That's just a mad, crazy level of entitlement. But are you sure you want to marry such a cowardly man who lashes out at you because he's too spineless to stand up to his ex? Didn't you read she's engaged to a wonderful man? Unfortunately, some people see a train coming at full speed and still decide to step on the tracks. I guess not having a backbone is bad enough. But to be, quote, royally angry at someone for something they're not responsible for. Talk about entitlement. Help, this man needs a lot of work before committing to him. Think about how he treats you now, and then imagine how he'll treat you and your daughter once you're married. It'll be a huge issue for your daughter once you're all living together, and he's acting selfish and entitled with your time. Shouldn't she have care lined up if she spent that much on tickets? Again, multiple options, even like hiring a babysitter. If she tries to take custody away from Mike over this, he will get more custody when the judge gets annoyed about wasting their time on her trifling BS. Absolutely. Take screenshots of the texts that were sent and take this to court. When the judge gets annoyed about wasting their time on her trifling Bs, absolutely take screenshots of the texts that were sent and take this to court. She's trying to manipulate and blackmail you. I'll tell her to respectfully screw off and that she should have had a plan before buying the tickets. Ask every family member and friend why didn't they take them, or why whatever they were doing is more important than your daughter. You should take your fiancé in for a legal consultation, because the way everyone's acting makes me believe that he probably thinks the child could be taken from him. They probably made him believe that if he doesn't watch him when asked, he won't be allowed custody. So the kid is probably better off with y'all than in his mother's environment. I was adopted from Korea when I was a toddler. Both my adoptive parents are white, and they never tried to connect me with my culture while I was growing up. Instead, they raised me to believe I was white like my siblings. And it wasn't until I entered middle school that I realized I was not white. In college, I met my now husband, who's also Korean. He's not adopted like me, but his parents did move to the US from Korea when he was around 10. With that being said, we recently had our first child, and we gave her a Korean name. No, we did not give her an English name as well, since the name isn't that hard to pronounce, and I wanted her to have a name from her culture. We did a little family get-together with my family yesterday so that they could meet her, but my mom kept mentioning how hard her name is to pronounce. Explained to her many times how to say it, and yet she still kept getting it wrong, which felt like it was on purpose. Finally, after the millionth time I corrected my mom about her name, she yelled at me and said I shouldn't have given her a difficult name, and I was setting her up for failure and years of bullying. They left shortly after that, but I've been thinking about it since then. I don't think foreign names should be considered difficult, and they certainly shouldn't if it's your family. I know kids can be mean, and bullying is common when it comes to names, but I would hate to raise my child to think that she needs to change herself to make others feel comfortable. I don't want my child to be bullied or to set her up for failure, but I'm also scared of her growing up the same way I did. I'm very sorry, but clearly your parents, or at least your mom, are uncomfortable with your Korean identity. That's why they didn't teach you about your culture growing up. But if your kid has a traditional Korean name, then your family's identity, your differentness, can't be so easily glossed over, and that makes mom uncomfortable. Stand your ground. You have the right to give your child a name that's meaningful to you and your partner. If they learn to say Tchaikovsky and Michelangelo or Dostoevsky, then they can learn to say Uzo Amaka. Atra's mother told her this, and I'd always think of it when I hear something similar. Your parents are racist, unfortunately, Mr. Healthy, or with the way they refuse to try, deem anything else difficult, and literally whitewash you. Not the idiot, but look at what you're saying. She's your mom and you love her. So maybe just remind her of this truth with love as best you can, calmly and directly every time she does this, and she'll come around. Welcome to dealing with grandparents. They're largely trainable. You are the idiot. I don't think foreign names should be considered difficult. Great. What a lovely sentiment. It isn't reality. Honestly, it really comes down to exactly how unpronounceable it is to most people in the US. Connecting your kid to your roots with a foreign name is a lovely idea. Even if your kid may prefer just to fit in as much as possible. Just because you felt you were missing your roots growing up doesn't mean she'll feel the same. Prepare for parent-child friction there, lol. I mostly ride a motorcycle, but I have a crappy Sunfire that I keep for grocery shopping or really bad weather. I was out doing my groceries, and someone was parked in my driveway when I came home. It's really not that big of a deal to me, so I parked behind them and brought my stuff into the house. I watched the hockey game, then a friend invited me over and I completely spaced. I went to my garage that faces my alley, not the driveway in front of my house, and I took off on my motorcycle. The next day, I got home around noon. When I checked my mail, I saw notes in my mailbox and on my car. I had trapped some poor guy in my driveway. I honestly feel bad about it, so I moved my car onto the street. My neighbor came over to yell at me for trapping her daughter's boyfriend in my driveway. I apologized and mentioned that I had been home for nearly 4 hours before I left, and they could have asked me to move at any time, and I would have. She said she saw me come home, but didn't want to bother me until it was time for him to leave, and when they came around 10 at night, I wasn't home and they don't have my number. I apologized again, but now I feel stupid because they were parked on my property, and they chose to wait nearly 4 hours. What if I was home but asleep? I think that was kind of an idiot move to trap the car, but it was an accident. They're jerks for not asking to get the car out as soon as I came home. Am I the idiot? Let's go over this. They parked on your driveway without permission. They didn't come home for 4 hours while you were home. We didn't want to bother you as weak. They came over late at night to ask you to move. You could have been in bed. Actually, you were out just doing your thing. Then they yelled at you. Hey, oops. I missed the punchline at the end where he apologized. How on earth were you supposed to know whose car was parked in your driveway at your house? The dude parked in your driveway. He's lucky you didn't have it towed or something. I can't believe you apologized for parking in your own drive. You really need to go to some assertiveness classes, and you need to stop being a pushover. Why would you ever be an idiot for parking on your own property? If people use your stuff without asking, they can absolutely not complain about you wanting to and actually using your very own stuff. Do you know you could have even had that car removed from your property, and they would have needed to pay for it?